When I was picking 5 matches to look forward to in this round of 32, I have Ivory Coast and Norway as my number three. The reason why is simple. You see, these two teams have been one of the most impressive sides in this tournament. Ivory Coast went toe to toe with Germany. They even almost defeated Germany. If only Simon Andriga scored that goal before Germany scored their second goal. Football is a game of little fine margins. Then Norway has actually been one of the best attacking side in this competition. They have arguably one of the best strikers currently in football, in person of Ellen Haaland. So both teams have played good football. But beyond that, both teams are two teams with distinct pattern. Like one team plays mid block and just pure counter attacking. Then another team is comfortable with the possession and use technicality, to open the game. One team rely on power and transition, another team rely on technicality. But at the same time, both teams have similarity. They are both physically dominant team. So the it's not like one team is going to bully another when it comes to physicality. No, it will not happen. They will match each other physicality. Ivory Coast are actually very comfortable defending in mid block. Then once they gain the possession, they attack with speed. That is what they have. They have Nicolas Pepe, Yan Diomande, Amad Diallo, Simon Andriga. All of them have one thing in common: speed. Ivory Coast's biggest strengths are physical midfield. They have Ibrahim Sangare, they have Frank Kessie, and there is one guy in their midfield now, Chris Ola. He's been one of the best players in this tournament when it comes to midfield players. He's actually had a fantastic performance so far. Then they are defensively, they are compact, they have fast wingers, and they attack with speed and precision. That is Ivory Coast's strength. Once they gain possession, they are going to attack with speed and verticality. That is what they've been known for, and that is what they've been playing. I think Norway, they're going to look at Ivory Coast and set up like they are going to play Senegal. Don't forget that Norway defeated Senegal 3-2. You see, both Senegal and Ivory Coast, they are similar to each other when it comes to gameplay. Then for Norway, they like to control possession, especially in the final third. Everything starts with Martin Odegaard. He controls the tempo, he finds the passing angles, and it ends with Ellen Haaland at the receiving end. Who better than even Haaland to even be at the receiving end of your passes? I don't think there is anybody that exploits spaces the way Haaland does currently. But the first question today is, can Ivory Coast stop Ellen Haaland? When you want to stop Ellen Haaland, it's not about marking Haaland. It is about stopping the service. Because Haaland movement is elite. Once the passes are coming, once the services are coming, trust Haaland to be at the receiving end. So the first question is, can they really stop Haaland? It's not about just stopping him. You have to stop the service. You have to stop Ellen Haaland from receiving at dangerous positions. If they can stop Ellen Haaland, the first job is actually done. Stop Haaland and you are likely going to win the game. Then the second battle is Frank Kessie versus Martin Odegaard. Frank Kessie brings physicality, ball winning, and leadership. But can he stop Odegaard today? Because Odegaard is the heartbeat of Norway's attack. He dictates the tempo, he creates the chances, he finds the passing angles. He's the tempo of the team. Like, he is the soul of the attack. So can Frank Kessie stop Odegaard today? Can he win the physical duel with Odegaard? Because if he wins the duel, that is, they have stopped Norway from creating high quality chance. There are still other angles they can create chance, especially from Anthony Nusa, and the way they've even used Solot as a winger in this competition is actually very commendable. But if they stop Odegaard, then the second job is done. That means if you stop Odegaard, the service to Ellen Haaland has stopped a little bit. Then that leads me to the next tactical battle, which will be the Ivory Coast wingers versus Norway's fullback. This is Ivory Coast's biggest strength. Can Norway fullback stop Ivory Coast wingers from transition? Because Norway's fullback also used to attack the underlap and the overlap very well. So there will be space for Ivory Coast wingers to exploit. Can they really stop that? Then another place the game will be decided is the midfield. Ivory Coast midfield likely comprised of Ibrahim Sangare. They have Oila, then Frank Kessie. That will most likely be the midfield combination. Then no, for Norway, you are likely going to say Sander Berge and Martin Odegaard in the midfield. Those two are very, very constant. So whoever wins this battle will actually controls the rhythm of the game. Norway midfielders love technical combination. Ivory Coast midfielders love physical duel. So it is technicality versus physicality. So whoever wins this midfield duel actually controls the rhythm of the game. The key players that will be very important for Ivory Coast today is Frank Kessie. He is the midfield general. Then Amad Diallo, whether he comes in as a substitute or he starts this game. Then Nicolas Pepe, that is arguably Ivory Coast's biggest goal scoring threat. Then another player is Diomande. Everything good that happen with Ivory Coast starts with him. So today is it will be very very important. He plays good football today. Then today, the centre back pairing of Ivory Coast, they have a lot of work to do because stopping Erling Haaland is one of the hardest thing a defender can face. You cannot go physically with Haaland. You cannot go with speed. You have to go with your edge in the game, intelligence. You must not lose the sight of that guy. Once you lose the sight of him, you are just going to see the ball in the net. So the centre back pairing today have a lot of work to do. Then for Norway, you have Anthony Nusa. If Ivory Coast say they are fast wingers, even Norway have their own too, in person of Anthony Nusa. Yeah, funny thing is, Nusa and Demadi plays in the same team. They both plays for Leipzig. They both were very explosive this last season. So Anthony Nusa, Martin Odegaard, everything, the attack starts with Odegaard. Then Erling Haaland, well, he's arguably the best goal scorer currently now in football. So it's very important. You stop Haaland, then you stop Norway's chance of scoring the goal. Then another midfielder that a whole lot of people does not know about is Sanderbach. He sets the tempo and progress the ball for Norway. Today, it will be very, very vital and very important today. If Ivory Coast want to win today, they must still compact defensively. They must deny Odegaard time on the ball because Odegaard loves to roll, so they must deny him time on the ball. Kessie must control the midfield battle. And their wingers, they must take their chances. But for Norway, if Odegaard is able to get his foot on the game, then they will create a lot of chances. If Erling Haaland starts getting service and start getting at the end of service, then Norway, trust Norway, they will score a lot of goals. Then for their fullbacks have a lot of work to do today because you are going to be facing speed all through the game. As you are facing Demade, you'll be facing Diallo. Andrew will come from the bench. There's Pepe. You are going to be facing speed all through. Then the midfield, they must be ready for physical battle too. They must technicality alone cannot cut it in football these days. You must be physical too. So they should be ready for physical battles too. This is a game I really, really look forward to. Honestly, Ivory Coast versus Norway. You cannot even say one person will actually win. It looks actually so balanced. If you say 50, I will give Norway 51% chance of winning because of their technicality and because of Erling Haaland. Then give Ivory Coast 49% chances of winning. So you see how close it is. So this is a game I really, really look forward to.